At Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont, we believe in spiritual living. Above all else, it is a philosophy that teaches us how to think and not what to think. We invite everyone to practice this philosophy by living in principle. We believe that God is all there is, and each person's relationship to God is a personal one. Every person, place, and thing, and all the space in between is not only an expression of God, but God itself. All love, peace, and beauty that is God exists within each person right now. Together we are all connected as one. Our faith allows us to apply this philosophy to our lives in every moment of every day. As we live in love, we see love revealed and flowing through the world around us. We act as citizens of this spiritual community at all times. This is how we think. We believe in God, we believe in ourselves, and we believe in you because we believe in spiritual living. We are the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. I am the nearly Reverend Neil, one of your licensed practitioners and soon-to-be ministers in August, hopefully. Thank you for being here and coming out in the heat. I know it's a little muggy, but we know we're all cool in here, so if you're here, you're cool. Right? I'd like to welcome those of you that are here for the first time, or welcome to those of you online. If you're online, type in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from and let everybody know that you're here. If you're here for the first time, actually I think they're covered up, but maybe back there might be some blue packets that you can grab if you'd like to know a little bit more about us. We will not be having fellowship after service today. If you haven't noticed, our social hall is being upgraded. I like that, upgraded. So, yeah, not next week either, probably. Hopefully they'll be done on time. We're getting all fancy and gussied up for our concert later on this month. If you haven't already taken a moment to make sure that your cell phone is silent, so that we are not interrupted. And let's start off by reading our vision statement together and affirm who we are choosing to be this morning with all the joy in our heart. CSLB is an inclusive and transformative community of spiritual practice. I'd also like to open up and listen to our opening song.
Remember, you are love at the heart of your being. Do you remember there is more to this life than what you're seeing? Let me remind you, you are beautiful by far. You've nothing left to prove when you remember who you are. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember who you are. Do you remember there is peace in the middle of this storm? Remember, you have all you need inside to keep you warm. Let me remind you, you're the dust from a star. Your essence is revealed when you remember who you are. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember You are stronger than you think you are, braver than you seem. The life that lies ahead of you is like nothing you have ever seen. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through the dark, but I will see for you and help you remember. If you ever forget, I will help you remember who you are and who you're here to be. Sometimes it's hard to make a way through.
That is from Gary Lynn Floyd's new album. It's a fantastic album. I highly suggest you listen to it. All right, it's time for announcements. We're going to get there. Okay. The Good Grief Support Group meets in the sanctuary every week on Thursdays in person from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. Grief is more than the loss of a loved one, and we cannot do it alone. We do it in a community. If you would like information for any of our announcements, they're on the table back there by the front door. The Joel Goldsmith book discussion every week at the home of Yvonne Fowler, one of our wonderful practitioners right over there. In Sun Lakes, there's a Joel Goldsmith book discussion led by our very own Neil Hayner. So you can RSVP to Yvonne or Neil because you have to get through the gate. Anyway, more information on the back table. Christmas in July. On July 27th, there will be a Christmas in July concert brought to you by the Palm Springs Gay Men's Choir. It will be at 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tickets are $20 in advance or $25 at the door. Full tables are discounted at $120. Are we sold out for that? Okay, so we're sold out for that, so you need to find somebody who has a table and see if they have a slot. Divine Dining on Saturday, August 3rd, Reverend Michael and Ross will be hosting a brunch in Idlewild called the Divine Dining Destination. There will be a silent auction, and there is more information to come, plus there is information on the back table. The CSLB Rainbow Alliance presents Esteemable Acts Seminar with attorney Francine Ward on Sunday, August 4th. All are welcome, and love offering is $15. Information's on the events table. As I'm sure you have noticed, and as Neil has said, Carter Hall is not available for fellowship today. We'll be fellowshipping in here. There's no food, unfortunately, but it's okay. We got our spiritual food going on here, so we're good. We will turn to regular service, I believe, the Sunday after next. I am Adrian Madden, one of your licensed spiritual practitioners here at the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont. The other practitioners will be available after service for a moment of prayer on this side of the sanctuary. Please do not leave here this morning with anything on your heart. We love to pray with you, and we absolutely know that prayer works. And for anybody online, if you don't know, on our website, cslbeaumont.org, you can actually put in a prayer request with, I don't think there's even a character limit on it. It can be as long as you want, and we will respond within 24 hours. So let's all close our eyes and let this meditative song bring us back into our center.
Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Let every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah.
A word of thanks, a word of thanks
For my God, hallelujah. A word of thanks, a word of thanks. For my God, let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A blessed day, a blessed day with my God. Hallelujah. A blessed day, a blessed day with my God.
God is here, there, everywhere. God is in every space, place, person, place, and thing. God is in and through each and every person here, online, all throughout the world. God is that absolute peace that brings clarity. God is that absolute love that brings balance. God is all of these things and so much more. And I am here now, living life. God is living through me and each and every person here, and I'm knowing and trusting all of this is true and more. I am knowing and trusting that each person will get that absolute clarity that they deserve to know and trust what is going on in the world around them, to see around them, to each and every person, that they have access, not just access, but are exuding this wonderful love that is God to each and every person around them, that they are open to hear and filled with the clarity that is God, to know and trust and understand and take this message that it will be received from Neil here today, blessed Neil, in this moment, in this space, out into the world, to bring that more perfect world for everybody. I'm knowing and trust all this is true and more, and I'm so grateful and thankful for these truths. I'm so grateful and thankful that each and every person has not just this ability, but this love in their heart to do this, to bring this forth, this knowledge, this love, this clarity. I'm so grateful all this and more, and I release my words into the perfect action and order of the law, knowing it to be true, whole, and complete, knowing it to already be in motion, knowing that each and every person here is part of that wonder. I let go and I let God, and together let us anchor and affirm these by saying together, and so it is.
Gotta turn on the voice of God. To start off this morning, I just want to apologize if I cough. There is something about the air conditioning here that drives my asthma crazy, and I keep forgetting my inhaler. So I apologize in advance. I also wanted to start off this morning just kind of bringing back a tradition that's close and dear to my heart, and that is lighting our candle. I know that there were some shocking, possibly disturbing events yesterday, if you have been watching the news, so I just want to presence that for a minute and just take this opportunity to recognize that God is present even when things look like they are in chaos and disorder, and holding the space for a peace and a place in the world where none of our issues or conflicts have to be solved through violence. So I know that you join me in also affirming that. So my talk this morning is called Words to Live By. And this kind of came to me in a dream. And I saw Ernest Holmes dressed up like Superman. And I thought, well, that would be cool. Like, we could talk about all the spiritual teachers. So my intention is kind of to do some words to live by and then do like different spiritual teachers as kind of a series. So I had this dream where Ernest Holmes was dressed up as like classic 50s Superman. And I thought, well, like, yes, because Ernest Holmes has superpowers, right? Don't we all? And then somewhere in my dream, somebody pushed me off the stage, which I'm not sure what that was about, but I'm assuming that somebody wanted me to fly because, Superman. I haven't quite got my cape on yet, but I'm working on it. How about you? So it's been kind of an interesting 24 hours, but in all of the time that I spent yesterday, it really reminded me of the power of our teaching and how much my life has changed in the last 24 years since I walked through the doors of my first CSL. And how much this teaching is a refuge for me to recognize that there is a truth and a love and a wisdom beyond what I see on the news and what I see going on in the world. And though I might struggle sometimes with maintaining that point of view and that perspective, I think it's made my life a better place. And I believe in the transformative power of our teaching, which is why I'm up here talking to you. So my goal for today is to kind of just take a look at some of Ernest Holmes' quotes. I think it's good, especially when the life is a little crazy, to kind of go back and touch our touchstone, to go back to our roots, to go back to the basics. So what I did was I looked up I just Googled famous Ernest Holmes quotes. So I'm going to go through a couple of quotes, and I might have overplanned, so if we don't get through all of them, it's totally okay. And just talk about what they mean to me, and maybe give you an idea of a little bit about who Ernest was and how he thought, and this thing that we call science of mind, which is our philosophy and our faith and our way of life. So Ernest Holmes was the author of a book called The Science of Mind, on which our faith and philosophy is founded. And he said that our teaching is a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion. It's a combination. His superpower was that he was known as the great synthesizer. He went back and looked at all the world religions and many of the ancient philosophies and the mystery schools of ancient Greek and Egypt. And he found what he called the golden thread, which he said ran through all of them. So our first quote this morning, I thought was a good place to start this morning. And it's one of my favorite quotes of Ernest Holmes, but it's probably also one of the more controversial quotes. And the thing about quotes that I really love is, number one, somebody much wiser has probably already said it than me. And they've said it way more eloquently and beautifully than I ever could. Number two, when we memorize spiritual truths and we recognize these quotes, they help add to our internal dialogue so that when something in life becomes challenging or unexpected, you'll notice that sometimes a Bible verse or a quote or a thought will come up from within to inspire you and to guide you. So it's good to kind of have some of these quotes in your back pocket to think about when you need them. So the first quote, let me say this. Marlene Dietrich said, "I love quotations because it is a joy to find thoughts one might have beautifully expressed with much authority by someone recognized wiser than oneself." So hopefully there's some wisdom here this morning for you. So the first quote, like I said, is one of my favorites. It's also probably one of the more controversial quotes in religious science, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And it comes from a sermon that Ernest Holmes gave at Asilomar called The Sermon by the Sea. And it's been paraphrased as, "We should be for something and against nothing." We should be for something and against nothing. And in a world where I think we're increasingly politically polarized, I think that this is a really important place to keep coming back to, that we should be for something and against nothing. Now, I'm the first to admit that I forget this a lot, but I keep coming back to it. Because what I think it says is, instead of talking about who and what we're against, we talk about who and what we're for. That is a dynamic, important shift to the focus of where we're giving our energy, where we're giving our focus, where we're giving our attention should be on the things that we want our life to be like, not the things that we are against. How would our language change if we only gave our energy and time to the things that we were for rather than what we are against? Our world needs more peace. Our world needs more love. What our world doesn't need is one more person that's against somebody else, creating an us and them situation where we are constantly arguing and fighting. But if we can agree on what we want to create in the world, what we're for, because who's not for love? Who's not for peace? That's something that we can have in common. How we get there might be different, but we can at least come to a point of agreement where we agree that we want more love, more peace, and more harmony in our lives. Yes? It always reminds me of that idea that some people think that it's going to work to go out and fight for peace. To me, that's an oxymoron. Or someone's being a moron, I don't know who, but you can't fight for peace. It doesn't work. What we need is a place of unity and nonviolence. The answer to violence and negativity is peace. It's not more violence and separation and violence. Now, the controversial part of this is that that doesn't mean that you just sit at home on your meditation cushion and not get involved in the world and not work for a world that works for everyone. That's not what that means. What that means is it's an intention and an energy and a focus. Talk about what you want to create, the things that you are for, instead of the things that you are against. And then we get to look at the energy and the intentions that we're putting into the world. What are we for, not what we are against. With me so far? So here's the second quote. Ernest Holmes says, "We must practice the presence of peace consciously, definitely, and deliberately." Consciously, definitely, and deliberately. If we can do it individually and in the family and to a certain degree in our offices and businesses, which we can, why can't we do it for the whole world? We can. We can be that place of peace. Sometimes we think that we look out in the world and say, if the world was just a better place, there would be peace. If the world was peaceful out there, then I could be in peace. If people would just do the right thing, then the world wouldn't be such a mess. Sound familiar? But you see, we have it backwards. We have to practice the presence of peace. We are responsible for the energy and thoughts that we add to the world. Whatever you want to see in the world, it has to start with you. It doesn't start out there. If you're looking for peace out there, you're not going to find it until it starts in here. Of course, Gandhi said you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. So if you want to see more peace in the world, where does it have to start? It has to start with me. Am I a place of peace in my family? In my workplace? Am I a place of peace in my spiritual community? Now, I lead that Joel Goldsmith discussion group, and they were teasing me on Thursday and said, well, you're going to talk about Joel on Sunday? And then I usually do at least once, because I love him. So Joel uses a quote, is a Bible quote. He says, my peace I give unto you. It's a Bible quote. But he turns it around into an affirmation and something that we can say to ourselves. Next time you're feeling a little in conflict with the world or with somebody, think to yourself, my peace I give unto you. You're giving that person your peace. That might mean that, we often want to give somebody a piece of our mind, right? I'm going to give that person a piece of my mind. But what if we just gave them our peace instead? Instead of giving people a piece of our minds, why don't we just give them peace? The next quote is one of Ernest's probably most famous quotes. He says, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. Life is a mirror. That means your life is a mirror of your consciousness. This is true on an individual level. It's true on a community level. It's true on a national level. It's true on a worldwide humanity level. All those levels of creation. Life is a mirror and reflects back to us the collective conscious or unconsciousness of our nation or our lives. But what it does is it holds us accountable. You see, you can say all the right things. You can walk around talking about how spiritual you are, how abundant you are, how your chakras are all aligned. But if the mirror's showing you that your life is a mess, you still have some work to do. That's the mirror. Your life is a mirror of your consciousness. And if it's in your life, it's showing up to be healed or revealed. Now here's the key. If you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, it's not the mirror that needs to change. Ooh, that one hurt, huh? If you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror of your life, it's not the mirror that needs to change. It's the cause. What needs to change is what you're sending into the mirror. Here's the thing. Mirrors don't judge. Life is not judging you. If you want to wear a blue shirt and you stand in front of the mirror says, sure. The mirror doesn't say, really, you want to wear that? Life's not going to judge you. Life's just going to say yes, and it's going to reflect back to you what you put into it. With me so far? Here's another Ernest Holmes quote. He says, the mind is a magnet, and we attract that with which we identify the self. In order to get the most out of life, we must learn to consciously to change many of our habitual thought patterns. This is not easy. Sorry, if you showed up for easy, that's not it. This is not easy, for our old thought patterns cling to us with such great tenacity. But being thought patterns, they can be reversed. If you are filled with fear, refill yourself with faith, for faith always overcomes fear. So we have this idea that the mind is a magnet, and we attract with which we identify the self. You're like, wow, what does that mean? Well, here's what that means. That means whatever you put after the I is what you're attaching to the self. So if you say, I am always late, your I is the self. What are you attaching to your identity? I am always late. So guess what? The universe says yes. The mind is a magnet. And so guess what shows up? I'm identifying myself with being late. Whatever you say after that word I is something that you are attaching to yourself. One criticism that we hear sometimes about affirmations is that people just say, oh, you just have some magical thinking. Just because you say it's true doesn't mean it's true. I can sit here and say, I am whole, healthy, and complete, but obviously not feel that way. So how does that work? Sometimes what we need to do is give ourselves some space and some possibility. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that sitting when you're having a cold and sitting and saying, I am whole, healthy, and complete, that's going to create that weird feeling of like, well, no, I'm not, right? That's not true. But what you can do is say, you know what? It's okay. I don't feel good today, but I'm getting better and better every day. That's giving yourself space. That's giving yourself possibility. I can't pay this bill today, but I know that I am one with limitless source and good is on its way. Up until now, I have been late. But you know what? Tomorrow is a new day. Ernest Holmes said, what thought can do, thought can undo. What thought can do, thought can undo. Ernest Holmes said, practically the whole human race is hypnotized because it thinks what somebody else told it to think. The whole human race is hypnotized because it thinks what somebody else told it to think. Now, religious science, the name of our philosophy, I wouldn't say is probably a mainstream philosophy. In a lot of ways, we go against the grain of our culture right now. The thing is, we ask you to think a lot. Think about what you're thinking about. Think about how your life got to be the way that it is. Think about how you want your life to be tomorrow. We're a thinking philosophy. I know. It's hard sometimes, huh? We are a thinking and a working philosophy. We literally say that if you want to change something in your life, you need to do the what? You got to do the work. Some people say, I just don't understand why we're the best kept secret and why there's just not 100 million people in here. Well, part of the problem is when you come here, we say you should think and do work. Some people aren't really down with that, but it pays off. And then see, the other thing is you don't have to agree with anything I'm saying right now. The invitation is to try it out, see if it works. We don't say that you only have to be a religious scientist. Ernest Holmes says you can add the science of mind to whatever religion tradition you already have. But here's an exercise for you. The next time you find yourself saying something negative about yourself, I want you to ask yourself, I want you to think, ask yourself this question. Who first told me that? And why did I believe them? Who first told me that? And why did I believe them? Sometimes we get our thoughts and beliefs from other people. especially when we're young. And part of the beauty of our philosophy is we say, you know what? That doesn't have to be who you are. You might have taken a thought or a belief or an idea when you were young and you attached it to your sense of self. But you know what? Anything thought can do, thought can undo. You have freedom to change that belief. Ernest Holmes said, "Definitely I know that every negative condition of the past is cleared away from my consciousness. I no longer think about it, see it, or believe in it. Nor do I believe that it has any effect whatsoever in my experience. Yesterday is not. Tomorrow is not. But today, bright with hope and filled with promise, is mine. Today I live." Isn't that beautiful? What would life be like if you consciously and intentionally started every day as if it was a new day? Whatever negative condition you had yesterday is cleared away. You are starting anew right here and right now. Freedom and possibility means that the thing that happened to you yesterday doesn't have to determine your day today. That choice I made 20 years ago doesn't have to be causal in my life today. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm just going to focus on creating the best experience of life today because that is what I have. I don't have yesterday. It no longer exists, except in the ways that I choose to relive it over and over and over again. I don't have tomorrow. I don't have it. It doesn't exist, except in the ways that I choose to worry about it. What I have is today. What I can control is my life, my choice, and my consciousness today. And today, I choose to live. How about you? Ernest Holmes said, "Today I do affirm that I am divinely guided. There is that within which knows what to do and how to do it, and it compels me to act on what it knows." My favorite part is that compels. Not only am I guided and directed by Spirit, but I'm compelled by Spirit to follow its direction. Wouldn't that be nice? It is nice. What if you had an internal GPS, a God positioning system that you could listen to? We talked a little bit about this in our Joel Goldsmith's group the other day, about having the opportunity to practice obedience to our divine guidance. You see, what we see in the world is just one way that we know things. But Ernest Holmes said there's two different ways that we know the world. There's two different ways that we perceive the world. One is with our eyes. The other is with our soul or our intuition. The challenge comes when we get those things out of balance. If we depend too much on what we see, we miss out on the intuitive knowingness part. Likewise, if we depend too much on the intuitive knowingness part and not what we see, then we can fool ourselves into thinking things are true that aren't really true. We need both of those things. We need both to perceive with our eyes, and we need to perceive with our soul. We have within us this divine guidance that is always available to us. I heard Reverend Peacher Weldis from CSL Dallas this morning. She was kind of talking about this. And she said, she was talking about like how to listen to your intuition. And she said, listen to the quietest voice within you. I like that. listen to the quietest voice within you. Of course, that means that you have to be still and quiet to hear it. But some people say, well, how do I know that it's not me? How do I know it's not my ego? Well, here's the answer to that. Because if you're following your divine guidance, it will give you peace. Ego is about separation and conflict and superiority. When you follow your divine guidance, peace is usually the result. Ernest Holmes said, "Every thought has a consequence, and every experience has a causative thought behind it." Every thought has a consequence, and every experience has a causative thought behind it. Every thought we think is either based in love or based in fear. And the general direction of your thought determines the general direction of your life. If you want to try a little experiment, keep a journal for a day and keep track of how many of your thoughts are based in fear and how many are based in love. You might be surprised. I also like this quote because this is really important. I want you to notice that it says every experience has a causative thought behind it, not every event. Not every event, it's every experience, which means that we don't always control the events. Events are created on every level of the creative process. They're created by our consciousness on an individual level. They're created by our conscious level as a nation, as a world. We don't always control what the global unconsciousness creates. But what we do control is our experience. We control our experience. We're responsible for the consciousness that we are adding to all those levels of creation. And we're also responsible for our experience. We bring the meaning. Events happen. Some we control and some we do not. But we choose what to focus on. We choose what something means. Maybe, as my grandmother would say, it means the world's going to hell in a handbasket. She was very fond of that saying. Or maybe it means that we are just one more step closer to choosing as humanity that this is no longer who we are choosing to be. I get to make that choice. Events happen, but how I respond to them is up to me. Those experiences, if I experience anger, there is a causative thought behind that. If I experience joy, there is a causative thought behind that. Events aren't always in my control, but my experience is. Life is ever giving of itself. We must receive, utilize, and extend the gift. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people. What I like about this quote is those three words that I underlined. You know, we talk a lot about success and prosperity around here. And Ernest Holmes in this quote is talking about three things that we have to be able to do to be prosperous. That is, receive, utilize, and extend. What does he mean by that? Well, if you want good in your life and you want abundance and you want prosperity, you have to be willing to receive it. Now, that might sound a little funny, but if you're carrying around a belief that you're not worthy of that good, guess what? When it comes your way, you're going to push it away. You have to be able to be willing to receive it. Then, once you get it, you have to do the second step, which is you have to utilize it, which means you have to use it. That means when the $1,000 check comes your way, you don't just leave it in the bank. You have to utilize it for something. You have to be willing to receive it, You have to be willing to utilize it, and you have to be willing to extend it. That means you have to be willing to give it back and give it away. That opens that channel of good and prosperity to flow in and through and as your life. I think this is our last one. You guys still with me? I thought this was a good way to end this today. Also kind of speaks to the state of our world sometimes. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. What does that mean? That means none of the problems that we have can be solved on the level of the consciousness that created it. No problem can ever be solved from the consciousness that created it. That goes for our problems individually, that goes for our problems collectively and nationally. We have to expand our consciousness, focus on peace and focus on love. To change our problems, we have to change our consciousness. No problem can be solved from the level that created it. It also says that you can't spend your entire time contemplating limitation and then demonstrate freedom. If you spend your entire time talking about why you can't do something, it doesn't really matter if you can do it or not. I saw this quote on Facebook the other day that said, "If you believe strongly enough that the door is locked and you are in a locked room, you believe that so strongly that you don't even try the door or the windows, then for all intents and purposes, you are in a locked room because you believe that you are." That is the level of your consciousness. You are arguing for your limitations. And how often do we get to work on that, both individually and collectively? So I hope this morning that something that we talked about rang a bell for you. I invite you to maybe stay after a little bit and talk about maybe which quotes most resonated with you and why. Find somebody and talk about which quote really rang your bell or what resonated for you this morning. And I know that as we take all these quotes, we take this consciousness into our world this week, I invite you to be for something and against nothing, to contemplate your freedom rather than your limitation, and recognize that you are in charge of your experience, no matter what is happening in the world. And so it is. And so we enter into that time of sacred spiritual practice that Ernest Holmes called spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. It is that time and place and space that we contemplate not our limitation, but our freedom. We contemplate the idea that God is all that there is. That there is just one power, one principle, one presence in which we live and move and have our being. It is the one life, the one love, that one peace that passes all understanding. It is all good things. It is all beauty. It is order and wisdom and balance. And because we know it's simply the biggest word that I know, we call it God. It is all that and more. It is all that I see and all that I know and all that I can't see and all that I don't know. It is everywhere present, all of the time. It is the circumference and the center. It is everything seen and everything not seen. And I know that I'm living and moving and having my being as an individual expression of that one. I am the drop within the ocean, and so are you. You are the drop of peace, the drop of joy, the drop of order and balance and wisdom. It is who and what you are by divine right, because you are an individualized expression of that one. And so knowing that is true, I can speak my word for myself. I can speak my word for everybody within the sound of my voice. I can speak my word for our world. Knowing that God is present, I know that peace is present. Wisdom is present. Order is present. Balance is present. And I speak that word knowing that wherever there is a sense of discord, peace is now present. Wherever there is a need of healing, healing is already taking place. Wherever there is the appearance of lack or limitation, I know that freedom is expressing itself in every moment right now. Wherever there is a need in my own life or the appearance of need in your life, I know that God is present. And so I know that whatever is needed is awaiting our attention and our focus and our acceptance of it. No matter what the appearance with my eyes, I choose in this moment to perceive with my intuition, knowing that no matter what I see, God is present, love is present, joy is present, order is present and possible in every moment of every day. And so in great gratitude, I give thanks for this truth. I give thanks for that good and that love and that balance and that peace that is already present and is showing up in every way that it can, through every channel and every avenue that it can. And I release this word into that infinite law, that mirror that always says yes and reflects back to me everything that I place into it. And in great gratitude and great surrender, I simply declare it to be so, and so it is.
It's burning inside, the hurting and the suffering. Minds creating anger, fear, and pain, suffocating our times. The tougher it gets, the rougher social media cries. But we see to it that we tweeting only negative lines. We're sick and tired of history, but repeating it twice. Greed, anger, and violence clearly stealing our nights. Feeling it tight between the shoulders with a chill in the spine. Pinching myself, waking up, trying to stop the rewind and move forward towards stories, overcoming our fears. Choosing love over hate, praying, trading hugs over tears. There's only one choice, breaking down the walls and repair every broken heart on this planet till there's no longer fear.
Walls can't hold us in. Fear can't keep us down. Love will rise again. Yeah, it's rising right now. We shall overcome.
Every time I think it's gonna take much longer,
We shall overcome.
every time I question, am I getting stronger?
We have just begun.
Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther.
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Young Gandhi couldn't fathom how to deal with himself when he was thrown off the train and the pain that he felt. Mrs. Parks disrespected, dragged into jail because of the color of his skin, organs, tissues, and cells. One day, a young girl was shot on a bus by a man, a terrorist, part of the Taliban. He said, on this land, you have no right to stand for what you believe in. Girls have no chance here. Well, now, that's just the story of three souls who shook our planet after being down on their knees. And it's not gonna stop. Those seeds have now become trees, and as human beings, we'll keep on digging till we find peace.
Yeah, the cynics always say
that nothing ever changes. The human nature's bound to stay the same, but it couldn't be more plain that violence never pays, injustice never stays, it's bound to fade away. What if history awaits? What if today's the day? We already know the way, so let's all lead the way. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We have just begun. Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Come on now. I will carry on. I will carry
on. This is our time in our service where you get to be an active participant by contributing to the ministry of our center and to the good that we spread in the world. So if you are online, you can go to our website, cslbeaumont.org. If you have your cell phone, you can simply text the word GIVE to 951-420-6909. If you haven't already set up your account, it will walk you through how to do that. If you find spiritual support and sustenance in CSL Beaumont, then I invite you to support us in our ministry here at CSL Beaumont.
Gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful.
So now as we wrap up our gathering this morning, we like to stand and hold hands and sing our closing song. If that's not your thing, please feel free to stay right where you are, and we will surround you with love and light as we sing and close out our service this morning. So I invite you to place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. There is this thing called life. There is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in all my affairs. I accept it. I live it. And I give it away in every way possible. And so it is. Thank you for joining me this morning.
In my eyes, in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, in my life, I have been searching for something, but you were my dream.